You're talking to go out and bikini.
Again, it's all the global. They're the ones who try to confuse the rollout of our teenagers because apparently they want Western civilization to collapse. They're putting the stage for the collapse of Western civilization.
Content over everything!
I mean, what we're not seeing is the population of the UK or other European countries. What we're not seeing is this ethos that we've always seen as a Christian country, which is the promotion of traditional values of marrying in your, say, late teenage years, early 20s, and then having kids, and then men going out and being dominant in the world of work, in the public sphere, and women being dominant in the domestic sphere. And I believe that's actually essential to the balance of human people and human society. If you know, I think it's essential that you have that balance between yin and yang. And if we look at the symbols of yin and yang, what we see is that it's there's the separation, there's the interconnectedness, and what was the other one? And there's the balance as well. So those are the three important. I'm just going to get some water. So with the yin and the yang symbol, there's those three important components: balance, separation, and interconnectedness. Interconnectedness in that women need men and vice versa. Separation in that I believe there needs to be a clear separation between the roles, between what we each do, and by doing that you actually value the role of women and you value the role of men, and also the interconnectedness, so there is a little bit of crossover as well. And I think we've lost all of that in the last 60 years. And yeah, certainly if we look at the birth rates and the marriage rates here in the UK, we see the whole thing is falling apart. And I mean, we see various Guardian articles, which is, they're almost promoting the collapse of Western civilization. Because, you know, you see a lot of these articles, they're saying, women shouldn't marry and they shouldn't have any kids, and, you know, because kids are a drug and they're going to get you down and they'll probably make you depressed. And it's much better just to, be some sort of socialite and to go out clubbing and to enjoy your life, and don't have any horrible children, you know, because they're smelly and because they shit everywhere, and because it's best just not to have them. You know, at the same time we see the promotion of Pride, all of these events, which are, I mean, if you actually go to any of these events, I wouldn't say it's promoting, although it is promoting homosexuality, it's also blatantly promoting general sexual degeneracy. You see various people in gimp masks walking around, or on all fours crawling around. You see all of this utterly disgusting crap, which I think is enough to put people off having sex with anyone. A lot of it is like the extreme end of what you would see in some, you know, on the internet, in the on the porn sites, and it's disgusting. And you know, it's certainly not anything that I find sexually appealing. I think you know, with a lot of the music as well, I mean, that's just gone right into the realm of sexual degeneracy. You know, cough Miley Cyrus, Miley Virus, more like. You know, that's utterly disgusting porn, weird crap that she makes, and it's not sexually appealing at all. I actually missed that. I was thinking about it the other day, and it was the what was it? It was the, I think it was the Wrigley's advert from the 1990s, and it had that tune in the background. The tune was like All Night Long, and you know, it was a classic rock tune, and you know, the good-looking guy, good-looking woman, and you know, they've got all of their clothes on, and it's nice 90s, you know, lots of sun in the background. And for me, that advert was a hell of a lot more sexually appealing than any of this friggin' Miley Cyrus shit, you know, that we see nowadays, or any of this horrific, you know, stuff that we see on MTV. You know, all of this new stuff, which is, you know, and it's not even about all of these fuddy-duddies who want to, you know, stop young people from seeing something that's a bit naughty or anything like that. It's saying to young kids, actually, you seriously don't want to watch this because it's just going to corrupt your mind, and you're just going to, you know, end up becoming some kind of masturbation victim if you watch this, who can't actually cope in the real world and can't actually start up any kind of normal, healthy sexual relationship. And that appears to be the way that we have fallen as a culture, and we've gone completely away from this culture of actually promoting healthy sexual relations and promoting traditional values. And it's become a culture that is dominated, well, by hookup culture. I mean, if we look at, what's the other one? Like Love Island, you know, that disgusting show where, you know, people have to compete with each other in order to form couples. And, you know, there's all of this treachery and backstabbing involved. And I'd say what you're doing is you're making people increasingly narcissistic by promoting this show, by getting people to watch this crap, and increasingly unable to actually form long-lasting, committed relationships. And yeah, generally that's what we're seeing as a result of this, is the continual collapse of marriage rates and the continual collapse of birth rates in the UK across the first world. At the same time, we're seeing that certain, well, I'd say amongst the immigrant communities to the UK, certainly amongst Islam and amongst the black African Christians, is that we are seeing the promotion of traditional values, and these societies are becoming more dominant because they have traditional values. Because what we see with traditional values is that over time, it is the best way to run your society. You know, and that's why we have a Christian heritage here in the UK. It's because it proved over time to be a way of running our society that worked, that ensured that one strong, healthy generation was able to pass the torch down to the next strong, healthy generation. But we're seeing a complete collapse of that now. And I'd say that this has happened since we had certainly radical feminism, but also since we've had radical multiculturalism here in the Western world in the last 60 years. These are movements of collapse, and they are all promoted by the government, by big government. And I think the reason why is that we're seeing amongst the globalists is that they want to cause the collapse of Western civilization because there's a profit in it for them. They can profit from the collapse of Western civilization, and that's why they're trying to bring it about. And so I, as a sociologist, I promote traditionalism, I promote nationalism, and I promote libertarianism because I believe these are the three ideologies that a population needs, that a people need to ensure the survival of their culture, of their society over time. And I believe what I do is an extension of what we did in the past as British people through our Christian tradition. You know, that was a tradition that promoted the survival of the British people over time, that promoted the health of each subsequent generation, that promoted the tradition and the passing down of primordial stories and of other traditions from one generation to the next. Sorry? Yeah, I think it's the, you know, certainly it's the King Arthur tradition, and it's also the tradition of Christianity, and beyond that, it's a tradition of figures from our past. And there are many, as British people. You can go back to Alfred the Great, you can go back to Henry VII, Henry VIII, Shakespeare, or Chaucer, Thomas Mallory, all of these fantastic people from our past. They are white, but more importantly, what are they? More importantly, what are they? Interestingly, as an aside, there is it's some Black Power people from the USA who were, I forget the group, but they were claiming that all of these figures were in fact black, including Shakespeare and Beethoven.
Who are you referring to as the British people? Am I British to you?
Do you think that you need to adopt the British culture to be a citizen here?
No, what I'm asking you is, am I British to you?
I think you need to adopt the British culture and history and traditions. That's what it means to me.
Yeah,
that's the important thing to me.
Fair enough, but what I'm asking you is, am I British to you?
I'm not an ethno-nationalist. I believe it's a crap idea. I'm happy with people of all races and backgrounds to come here to Britain, but I think they need to adopt the British traditions, the British history, and the British values and culture. So to say that, yeah, you know, I'm part of this system now, you know, I hold the flag of Great Britain to be sacred, and also I acknowledge the history of Shakespeare, of Chaucer, of all of the kings and queens of this country. How is that white nationalism?
No, I'm saying, is that what you're promoting here?
How is that white nationalism?
I'm not saying that's what it is, I'm asking you, is that what you're promoting?
I think it's British nationalism.
Yeah, what? And back to my original question.
I mean, if you want to look at reality of the situation, most countries were an ethno-state before the year 1900.
There's no such thing as white nationalism. You're either a nationalist or you're not, and what nationality you are, that's the nationality.
Sure, and most countries were ethno-states before the year 1900. It's in recent times we have had cheap airfare and you know cheap yeah, other ways of getting around the globe, so you can have more people moving around. But what I want here in the UK, I need to grab that. What I'm promoting is cultural hegemony, cultural dominance. I want to see the dominance of the Christian culture here and of the primordial story of these lands, which is the story of King Arthur, and acknowledgement of the figures in our history. You know, Shakespeare and that lot. That's the culture of these lands. And before that, the Celtic culture, depending on how far back you want to go. Well, I mean, Great Britain was built as a Christian nation.
I don't think any kind of immigration of any country, whether it be Nigeria, Bangladesh, UK, or even the British people going to Spain, I don't agree with that.
Right, I mean,
I'm not saying they can't visit. I'm not saying they can't
yeah.
visit and get work permits, etc. But to actually settle in another country, unless you marry one of those citizens, I don't agree.
I think what we need to do is try and re-establish cultural hegemony, and therefore, I think if
therefore?
Yeah, therefore I think if an immigrant, someone does actually become a citizen here, I think what we need to do is to have an initiation ceremony where they give up their former flags and they also say, yes, I'm a British citizen now, I acknowledge all of these figures from your past, I acknowledge all of this history of your land. I am a part of that.
What do you think borders were created for? Why do we have borders?
Yeah, it's essential, yeah, so that individual cultures can survive and prosper,
To prevent other people from outside the borders settling permanently, no matter who they are, whether they're French, Swedish, Russian, African, Asian.
What would be the benefit of that? Why should every country be a blend of everybody else in the world?
I didn't say that.
But that's what it's leading to. That's the ultimate.
I don't think the new multi-culti way of living in the world works. It's been a disaster.
Anyway, why do you consider religion to have any? I mean, in this country, people who traditionally live in this country don't necessarily be religious. They've had religion imposed on them. They've been dictated to.
I think it's important because it's our past. So it's acknowledging the past. And also, you know, this country was built as a Christian country, and so that was the foundation that allowed the development of individual towns and cities across the country. You know, and it was the value system of having traditional values. And whilst I personally, I am an atheist. Personally, I'm an atheist, so I don't believe there's a God. However, I think there's been a massive failure in atheism because what we've not done is we've moved away from promotion of traditionalism. And that's traditional values, that's the promotion of heterosexuality and promotion of men and women getting married early 20s, having kids, and also generally men being dominant in the public sphere and women being dominant in the domestic sphere, as a way of creating a strong and healthy next generation. You know, and you need to continually do that so you can pass the torch down from each generation. And we've moved away from that as atheists. We've gone into this blank, you know, what is it, kind of complete liberalism mentality where, you know, we have an ethos, an underlying ethos of anyone can do what they want. And it's like, that doesn't work. If that's your underlying ethos for your society, then you're doomed. Then there's no way you can actually run a society with that underlying ethos. It needs to be a system of obligation, and we had that in the past as a Christian country. I don't mind if people become atheists now, but I think we need to understand that obligation.
Why do you think borders were created for countries?
I believe they're absolutely essential. I also promote nationalism, and I think it's essential that individual cultures have a patch of land that is theirs, that they maintain over time.
To protect the people inside the borders.
And also over time you have the development of a culture, you know, say from where we were in the 800 AD to where we were in the 1500s to where we are now. And you have that looking back through time and looking forward through time. And that's what good culture tries to do. It ensures there's a link between the past that continues on into the future. And you know, you see these, I was saying before, you have these radical leftists now in America, like destroying Christopher Columbus statues, destroying Robert E. Lee statues, and it's utterly ridiculous because they're just destroying their history.
They use the minority groups. They use and abuse the minority groups all the time.
Who does?
The leftists.
Yes, yeah.
And they exploit them. They try and pretend they're promoting their cause, and they're not.
I think it's vile, you know, like anyone who watches the fake news media now, and also generally the university system, especially the humanities, you know, right across the first world, it's the same shit that we're seeing, which is the promotion of trans shit, the promotion of, you know, like homosexual degeneracy, this absolute hatred of white people.
Do you think homosexuality is wrong?
I think there's a problem with pride, for instance, which is the promotion of homosexual degeneracy, I'd say, and also it's the fact that we have this massive pride event everywhere, and yet we're not promoting heterosexual relationships.
I agree, but
what the hell is going on there?
Well, they changed it. They called it gay pride. They called it gay pride, and then they changed it to pride, didn't they?
I mean, I personally, I don't want to be intolerant of it, but equally, I think overall you need to promote heterosexual relationships in your culture, and also strong masculine and feminine roles, because if you don't do that, then you don't have a future, and that's the problem as far as I'm concerned. Like if we take if you know, let's say that everyone in the UK goes along with this ridiculous crap that's being forced onto us by the globalists. Let's say that everyone becomes homosexual. How long does the culture have until the population is 0 from that point in time? The answer is 80 years. If everyone turns gay, then your country has 80 years before the population becomes 0.
Could you turn gay?
Hey?
Could you turn gay?
I'm not gay, no.
No, I said, could you turn gay?
No, I wouldn't want to.
So why do you think everybody could turn gay then?
I think there is a problem with it. I mean, the fact is, like, if we look at, for instance, what they're doing with primary schools, where they're trying to introduce all of this talk about sexual degeneracy and homosexuality. Then I've also, in my talk earlier, spoken about. I saw this. It was at this music festival last summer, and I saw this woman dragging her 10-year-old son along. And he was doing all of this. He had loads of glitter in his hair, and he was wearing all of, you know, like a tank top, and he was like mincing around. And I was just thinking, hell, even back in the 1990s, this shit wasn't happening. You know, we weren't using kids as science experiments the way we are now.
Do you think everybody?
And I think there's a huge problem there. I think it's inconceivable, but I used it as a thought experiment.
Do you think it's possible? A minute ago you implied that everyone might turn homosexual.
I used it as a thought experiment.
So you don't believe that everybody...
I don't think it would happen, but I think it's just important to... yeah.
Sorry to interject. I would say that, allow me, Leon. I would say one of the problems that I feel in the world right now is overpopulation.
Yeah.
And the best way to depopulate the world rather than growing blood would be the promotion of homosexuality.
Right, I think with the overpopulation problem, what you need to do is you have improved technology everywhere, because then that reduces birth rates in Africa, which is one of the major regions where the overpopulation problem is happening.
Even in India.
In India as well. Yeah, I think it's a technology issue, and it's an issue of slowly bringing you know, more capitalist economies to these regions. And I think in terms of governance, the best system we have is libertarianism, and that's where we need to be moving to everywhere.
What I class myself as a libertarian nationalist.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah. I believe. Well, I promote libertarianism, nationalism, and traditionalism.
Less government.
I think. Yeah. If you know, you want to just reduce government everywhere, because what we've seen is that it's a corporation, just like McDonald's, just like Amazon, but except it's 10 times worse, because it has central banking money and it has tax money at its disposal.
But back to your question, I don't think we're overpopulated as a planet. I don't think so.
The other thing I think we need to do is to get rid of uncontrolled mass immigration, because I think that also globalism.
The root cause of that is immigration.
Yeah, well, it's the globalist
It's
mindset,
doing away
isn't
with
it?
borders, saying
Yeah,
that foreign people
yeah.
can settle in their foreign lands, right? And then it's just got worse and worse. And now we've got 200 people a month coming on Calais on the boats.
Yeah.
Right? It's an epidemic.
I mean,
I think the problem is not immigration, but illegal immigration.
No, immigration.
Not immigration, because you have
Yeah, no,
great skill
absolutely.
set
If you have
I
a
didn't say they
this
didn't have
country.
great.
No.
Yeah, so the problem is not general.
Can I just answer? Can I just jump in here? I think you're absolutely right here. I think that if a country has sensible immigration policy, and if it has anything below net immigration, so the number of people who are leaving is the same as the number of people who are coming in, or the number of people who are coming in never exceeds the number of people who are leaving, then that's a good deal.
You don't agree with borders then? You don't agree with having borders, do you?
I don't believe in a North Korea version of immigration where nobody gets out and nobody gets in. I don't think that's a sensible immigration policy.
I'm talking about permanent settlement of foreign nationals.
I don't mind that.
That's what borders were created for, to protect the country.
Yeah. I don't mind permanent settlements of foreign nationals.
So you don't agree with borders then?
No, I agree with borders.
That's the total opposite of a border, what you just said.
Right. Yeah, but...
A border was created for certain tribes to protect their land, to stop foreign nationals settling permanently in their land. Just like I don't agree with people, foreign nationals going to Nigeria.
That's one particular policy.
Bangladesh.
That's not the only policy. I slightly differ from you in this, in that I'm fine.
Look where it's ended up.
Yeah, because it's become a mess. It's because it's become a mess. I'm fine with people becoming immigrants to a different country. But what they need to do, I'd say, is that they need to... I'd say you just need a proper initiation ceremony, and someone needs to actually become part of that culture. They need to pledge allegiance to the flag, and they need to say, this is what I am now. I give up all other flags, and I join this country as a permanent citizen. And I think there needs to be some other initiation ceremony involving some element of danger and pain. That would be my personal suggestion for that.
Once you let a handful in, then the rest of the world, like, well, those went there, I want to go there.
Yeah, that's the problem with uncontrolled mass immigration.
No, but the root cause of that is immigration.
I don't have a problem, you know, I think your thinking does lead to the creation of North Korea. If you have a problem with all immigration...
How would you solve this immigration problem right now in the UK?
What you're saying is led to the caravan in Mexico. That's what you're promoting.
No, I think globalism actually directly led to the caravan in Mexico. I think the main, from what I hear, the main supporter of that is George Soros and the Democrat Party. And also, the main supporter, well, it's the EU over here, and also, again, it's Soros's Open Society Foundation who are promoting this ridiculous, illegal immigration invasion that we're seeing to Europe now. And generally, if you look at the left-wing media, we're also seeing all of this anti-colonial attitude, anti-culture attitude, promotion of the idea that any person who sticks up for British culture or British history is a white nationalist. You know, because apparently people like Shakespeare were white, so if you promote the heritage of Shakespeare, that makes you a white supremacist. Because that's obviously what you see if you go to Stratford-upon-Avon, you know, to watch a Shakespeare play. All of these white supremacists everywhere, sitting in the audience, watching these Shakespeare plays. I think it's ridiculous that, there's this constant attack by the left wing on people, certainly in the UK, all over the Western world, who promote the culture of Western societies. You know, saying these people are white supremacists, racists, Nazis, alt-right.
They're inciting hatred against the people.
Yeah.
By calling someone Nazi, racist, fascist, you're inciting other people to attack them.
I mean, it's a ridiculous labelling strategy, and it has absolutely nothing you know, it means you can just ignore the argument and instantly other the person.
All those terms, homophobic, fascist, racist, they're all like, to target other people and get them attacked, verbally or physically.
Yeah,
that's why they do it.
I do also. I think it'll be a massive shame over here in the UK, and I mean, I'm seeing this happening now. If we see the, because what we're seeing now is increasing dominance of Islam, and so over time, this religion is becoming more and more hegemonic. It's becoming larger. It's growing everywhere, and we're seeing the failure of the British people and of Western society and Western values here. And I think this has been a complete disaster. And now you're seeing a whole load of women walking around wearing niqabs, you know, wearing these ridiculous cult uniforms. I think it's disgusting. I think women who wear these niqabs, it's exactly the same thing as Ku Klux Klan uniform, as the white hoods that they wear. The only difference, as far as I can tell, is that the niqab wearers don't have the pointy hoods. But in all other respects, it's exactly the same.
There's people in this park linked to the Ku Klux Klan, you know.
Linked to the Ku Klux Klan. To be honest,
I've
never
Of
seen.
Islam. Have you heard the Nation of Islam?
I have.
They are connected to the KKK.
Yeah,
they also
they also seem to. I saw one of their guys kind of dressed up as a Nazi as well. So I think they do like to promote all of that as well. The Nation of Islam. Yeah. It was literally the leather jacket of you know, the kind of SS trooper leather jacket, and I was like, you're just actually emulating the Nazis, aren't you?
There's certain people in this park, they keep accusing people of being linked to the KKK, when the Nation of Islam have done deals with the KKK on multiple occasions.
Okay, I mean, just getting back to my point, I just think it's disgusting that in Islam, you know, we're seeing all of these women wearing these vile niqab cult uniforms, these ridiculous hoods where all you can see is just their eyes. And for me, it's exactly the same thing as the Ku Klux Klan, you know, where, you know, the hoods that they wore, they were also part of a vile cult.
When do you see someone walking around with a Ku Klux Klan outfit?
I never see that.
Well, there you go.
I mean, in movies and in computer games, that's pretty much the only place I've seen that, because people would be attacked if they wore a Ku Klux Klan outfit. They'd be arrested. But apparently, we don't arrest these women who wear niqabs. And I don't get it. I think it's exactly the same. I mean, the other thing we see is the... I mean, not every Muslim believes this, but there's a massive problem with, you know, certainly as promoted in the Hadiths, and this idea that Muhammad married his bride Aisha when she was 6 years old, and then consummated the marriage when she was 9. And so what you see there is the promotion of paedophilia. And, you know, like, I mean, that's ridiculous. We have a decent Christian religion, but why the hell is that element of Islam being promoted here? Like, if, you know, I'm aware that not every Muslim promotes this idea that Muhammad consummated the marriage with Aisha when she was 9. Other Islamic sects, you know, have a different interpretation of what happened, that she was older at that time. Fair enough, but, you know, I do not want the promotion of paedophilia here in the Western world, in the UK, in 2018. And, you know, if we look at a lot of the Muslim rape gangs who have been going around, who have been raping these girls in the British care system, they are drawing on this ridiculous, you know, Hadith-inspired Sunni Islam promotion of the idea that Muhammad consummated his marriage with Aisha when she was 9.
He said that Aisha slept with a girl when she was 9. Is that true?
I'm completely... Yeah, well, some Muslims promote this.
case now, when you have a picard, the marriage, being alone with the wife, after that, when you sign a paper, you consummated, doesn't mean they had sex.
No.
So you know
that's not what various Muslims believe. I'm aware a lot of Muslims don't believe that, but some do. Also, to be honest, I have spoken to certain Muslims here in the park who have said directly that they believe that Muhammad fucked Aisha when she was 9 and that they support it too. I've heard Muslims here in the park say exactly that. It's not a secret. Some Muslims believe this, and it's a problem. It's a massive problem. You know, this is not a post-enlightenment religion. If it's promoting paedophilia, what we're seeing is the promotion of a disgusting cult.
1920, when they had actual physical.
Yeah. If you want to promote that, I'm fine. Look, if you want to promote that, I'm on your side, okay?
When he left Mecca on his immigration,
yeah.
he emigrated for 13 years.
Yeah.
His wife.
Will you acknowledge that not all Muslims believe that? Not all Muslims believe
These
that.
are the ones that are married at fucking 6 or 9 years old, shagging them, pedos, yeah?
Yeah.
Muhammad first left, if he was a pedo, why then was his wife 1, 2, 3, 4, 24? Why is 1, 9, 1, 15, 125? A pedo, if you catch a pedo, yeah, look at his phone and his laptop, he's got boys and girls all over the shop, yeah?
Yeah.
When he goes to report Muhammad, yeah, where's your proof that he shagged her at 6? Where's your proof that he did
What
it
I'm
right?
saying is that some Muslims believe this. And I think initially you seem to have the same conclusion with your first statement, but then you've asked me why I believe this. So I think you believe that some Muslims also promote the idea that Muhammad shagged Aisha when she was 9. Some Muslims do promote this. I think it's a problem, and I think it's a problem that needs to be stopped. It's a massive issue with Islamic extremism. The other issue that we're seeing is the problem of the Islamisation of the United Kingdom, and to me the failure here is, it's our immigration policy, and also it's our inability to stand up for ourselves as a culture. We've just weakened our culture so much, and we've allowed the radical leftists to do this, the globalists to do this, to the point where we think, our culture doesn't mean anything anymore. And that's the whole multi-culti idea. It's all about the promotion of other cultures. It's not about the promotion of your own culture. The fact is, you need to promote your own culture if you want it to survive. You cannot say that your culture is insignificant. You need to promote it to ensure that it has a future. And I think it would be a terrible thing if Western society falls, because I think it's the greatest society this world has ever seen. Hell, I look back at the British Empire, and I think back then, as people, as Brits, we had a hell of a lot going for us back then. We were sending people all around the world. We were, going on expeditions to the North, to the South Pole, to every corner of the earth. We were engaging in massive engineering and architecture projects. We built the canal system, we built the rail system. I mean, the Germans may have had the edge on us in terms of the automotive industry and that revolution, but we did a hell of a lot at that point in time. And what the hell have we done since? What's happened in the last 60 years? We've become increasingly feminised, and now we put all of our money into healthcare and into paying single mothers money so they can raise illegitimate children. That's where all of our money goes. The welfare system, and the healthcare system. And it's like we need to start putting money into engineering projects, into science, because it was all of that stuff. That's what actually made Great Britain great. It was the fact that we put all of this money, all of these resources into these wild scientific projects, into these exploration expeditions. It was the fact that we went out, you know, and we conquered new territory, and we developed new scientific ideas, and we worked out new ways of, I guess, engaging in the world. We developed all of these systems, and there's a hell of a lot of expedition work that still needs to be done. You know, I think if the British Empire was still going, we'd be a spacefaring race by now. We'd have spread out into the solar system, and we'd have developed nuclear fusion. And I think that's the direction our society needs to take. We need to get our ambition back. We need to become an ambitious country again. An ambitious culture again, and yeah, generally I'd say the you know, the underlying ideologies I promote as a sociologist are traditionalism, the bedrock of any society, nationalism, a society's ability to sustain itself, to sustain its culture over time, and libertarianism, the promotion of the free market into every area of, into every field of human endeavour. But I'm going to stop for now, so thank you. Cheers, guys.
Come take over everything from your melody.
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen!
That's me done. This is